So welcome to Comprehensive Literacy for All Book Study, the Special Ed Tech Center. Today we are on Chapter 5. And so I'm going to just ask someone to look through and mute the background noise.
I can do that, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So in reading Chapter 5, we got to see what emergent writing looks like over time, and how to get off to a good start with our students with writing, and then how to support that growth towards conventional writing. And if you've looked ahead in the chapters, you know that Chapter 9 addresses writing as well, so we have a deeper dive. And then Chapter 11 addresses assistive technology, and I will have some other tips and tools on writing that you can use for writing. So it's not our only chance to look at writing, but an awesome chapter on emergent writing. And so several times in this chapter, emergent writing was defined. And in this definition, the definition is just like emergent reading, but the word writing is in the place of reading. So emergent writing can be defined as all of the writing behaviors and understandings of learners of any age that proceed and develop into conventional writing. And then in the second definition in the book, it talked about explorations and experiments and inventions, all those experiences in emergent writing that lead up to conventional writing. And I love that because a lot of the tools and strategies we talk about are just give the student opportunities to explore. So they also mentioned in the book a article by Byington and Kim, and let's see, it's covered up for me, but it's promoting, I think, preschool. I can't move it out to see the title, but
preschool emergent writing.
Thank you. I've got something blocking it. And so I put the link to this article, excellent readable article for parents and educators on emergent writing, and lots of tips, practical tips on modeling writing and providing opportunities throughout the day, and some homeschool connection kinds of things. But this is looking at the emergent writing process and how it follows a fairly predictable stages with children who have experiences. And the experiences they're talking about are regular and frequent opportunities to engage in emergent writing experiences. And so we already know from research that students with disabilities, with significant disabilities, have less opportunity to grow in reading and reading opportunities, and the same is true with writing. And in the research section, it talks about how the severity of the disability impacts the opportunity for writing. So it contributes to the diminished opportunity for writing. So they talked about students with complex communication needs and deaf blindness and multiple disability, and how we don't have the experiences. And that led to this quote, which I loved, and that's
Kristen, can I stop you there real quick for 1 sec?
Sure. I was just
sorry.
That's okay. I was going to break right after. Whoops.
I was just wondering if you could put the link to that thing, if somebody can put the link to that in the chat.
Sure, it's right in the document, Sari, so you could yank it from that in the notes.
Will do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So then if you have time to explore it, you can have it there at your fingertips. Children's growth in understanding writing is more dependent on experience than on age. And I love that quote because it's not dependent on the severity of the child's disability necessarily. It's dependent on their experience. And so I just wanted to just pause here to wonder how that lands with you, what comes to mind as you think about the progression of writing, and also as you saw all the examples they gave of emergent writing in this chapter.
I love the example of it, but when I think about my kids with eye gaze and switch access, meaning they're not doing any handwriting, I think about what does that look like when with AAC. And so I think it looks like being able to explore pages with letters, and it doesn't necessarily meaning exploring pages with all the letters, which may be visually too much or motorically too much to have to column row through a keyboard. So I have played around with simplifying and having just a few letters on a board just to let them play around with the letters of their name and not worry about the order in which they do it. But I don't know what people, when I'm jumping straight into really complex kids, when I think about writing, and what does some of these stages of writing look like for those that aren't using a pencil at all? And I don't know how others might be addressing those emergent stages. And if you don't feel comfortable speaking up, just join in the chat. I'm not sure. I'm not seeing very many chats at all this time, so I'm hoping I'm seeing everything.
Brenda, I can share kind of something that I kind of start my students with this.
Yeah.
And we talked about it a little bit during the book study, but I do have some samples. And it's the alternative pencil.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what you're doing is you're giving them the opportunity to write using partner-assisted scanning. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when they're just learning to use their AAC device, I feel like it's just so much to try to figure out how to get to the alphabet. And so if you take kind of the cognitive load down, let me put I can't see my picture at the moment, so I can make sure you can see it. So here's what an alternative pencil looks like. And you just ask them, do you want A? Do you want B? Do you want C? Do you want D? And then you have your obvious wait time, and I kind of tell staff, teach your yes and no. If you can't get both, get a yes. No response in our country is implied no.
Right.
And then you've got, then you just keep, going that way. So this is one version. Another version.
Did you just make that, Heidi, or is that printable?
It's printable. So it's through the Center for Disability Studies at University of North Carolina. They have, I think when we got it, you had to pay $25, but right now it's free. And you just print it, and then it has these little, as they get better, has these little things that, where they can add a space, or they can tell you to turn them.
Very cool. I love that. I want to find that.
They can tell you that they're done. And then another one that I got from Linda Burkhart, so someone you'd have to ask her if she'll share it, is, something like this. And so you start is it on this page? And then you go to, if they say no, you go over here to the F page. Is it on this page? And then you say yes, and you go through, and then you pick it. And if they pick G,
that's great.
Got G, and then they've got all their lovely, sentence enders and space and stuff at the very end. So that's kind of how I do it with my emergent writers. And
thank you for sharing that.
I've had a lot of success with that.
We'll get that link in the notes.
I think she just put it there. Let's see. Did you, Sarah?
Or in the chat.
I put it in the chat, but I'll put it in the notes too.
Oh,
Great.
sorry.
I had, I was gonna interject. This is Susanna, hi. I had a student with cortical vision, and what I did for that is I made like a low-tech gaze board, and I used bright letters, and I started with her name and was showing her the letters of her name, and so that she could start recognizing that, because she also didn't like to do, her favorite phrase was no quiero. So she didn't like to do anything, but she did get into that with a little bit of song and dance. And
There's a question in the chat from Lacey, and it says, how do you know if they don't have a reliable yes or no? You need to start shaping their yes and no. And I think my biggest aha moment was, I did head trauma rehab before I worked in the schools. And as soon as someone woke up from a coma, we taught them what their yes and no was going to be.
Mhm.
We didn't wait for them to show us their yes, no. And in school, we wait. And so I start teaching right away. Oh, your eyes went up. That's going to be yes. And so whether you think they did it, you know, you're not going to be going like, oh, did you say yes for B? You're like, I saw your eyes go up. I'm going to put a B on there. And you just presume that if they do something towards whatever you're shaping their yes to be or their no, that's what it is. And then you just do some verbal referencing that, oh, I saw your chin drop down. That's yes. I saw you look to the side. That's no. And, you know, they pretty quickly kind of fit. And if you use that in a variety of activities and they start saying yes to things they don't want, they start to get their yes, no really pretty quickly.
Those eye gaze low tech come in handy too, because you can ask where's the letter M, and you'll be able to see them, their eyes go to that M, go to that A, whatever the next letter is.
So we are diving into some things to write with, right, already. And so that's kind of what we were moving on to, is realizing that even though with literacy, there's no prerequisites, with writing, we need something to write with and something to write on. And that doesn't mean a pencil paper only. There's lots of different options. And so Heidi and Brenda and Susanna were already sharing some things to write with. And so I thought it'd be fun to brainstorm in the chat, just kind of rapid fire, take a moment to think about it and start putting things in the chat. Some different ways in which you've helped students write, things to write on and things to write with. So I can't see the chat right now, but I'm hoping that as you get things down, that Sari and Brenda will.
Yeah. So we have several.
Oh, I want to know about boogie boards. Somebody wrote boogie boards. Tell me more.
Boogie boards are like those, I don't know, they're not white, they're black, but you can write on them with a pen, and then you push the button and they erase.
Well, don't you use a special stylus, not a pen?
Yes, it's a stylus.
Thanks, Kim.
So kind of like a Magnadoodle or something like that.
Which is also
right?
coming up. Whiteboards, wiki
Right.
sticks, Play-Doh, magnetic letters, writing letters in the air, the iPad shaving cream. I know you guys can all read, but I'm just kind of throwing it out there to see if some of you are going to be more auditory than
I want to
visual.
clarify, don't use shaving cream on your iPad. And he said that, I was like, what is this?
Scented
Yeah.
markers. I like that idea. Sandpaper.
What I like about this is that it's really, these things are really accessible, and parents can pick these things up. You know, a lot of this stuff is just in your house.
And a lot of the things we come up with don't require that physical writing, but for some of our kids to grasp and utilize some of these things, it still is not functional. So I love that Heidi brought up the alternative pencil, and then the eye gaze boards came up.
Paint brushes are also good for those kids that just need bigger grasp.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So in the book, there's also a chart of writing tools and writing surfaces. Explore different types of things there, from label makers, chalkboards and dry erase boards, easels, things that OTs go crazy with. Just thinking about the alternative pencil, there was a link at the end of the chapter, and so that's also going to be in the notes so that you can get right to that. Okay, so they talked about creating a welcoming environment for all writers and for emergent writers. And in doing so, talking about celebrating all student writing. And so they gave a few tips about listening with interest to the students, what they're reading aloud, and what they have written. Tell them it's wonderful. And the more specific and content focused you can get, then the better. And then encouraging the students to write more about their topic. We're going to circle back around to celebrating the students. We feel like that's really critical piece. And so in the breakout rooms, we're going to brainstorm some more about how to celebrate all student writing.
I just love that the authors are like, in case you don't know what to say,
Right.
say this.
Right.
Because I honestly think that, I mean, I do this with my typical children. Today, one of them was doing chores and I was like, I do not say out loud, good job. and it's not even a good job. It's exactly what it is. It's, look at this, look at these letters you're doing. And I love that we're talking about this subject. It lets me know what things make you happy. And, you know, like, it just is like, talk to them about their writing. And I like that they don't presume that all of that's happening all the time.
Well, yeah, I love that too, because it's giving replacement for things that may be typically said, or tendencies to let me fix that, or oh, you didn't mean it that way, and correcting the student's writing. How often do we see that happening? And so you zip that, because that's our tendency to think we're giving some type of instruction by changing the writing to make it correct in some way.
Right.
And it doesn't become their own, and you're not celebrating them, and the learning probably goes out the window too. So I love that they're specific in helping us with this.
And it replaces good job even, because good job is just not enough information. It's not enough information to actually be teaching. So I like it.
I feel like we should print this page up and hang it on the wall in like every writing center.
Mm-hmm.
I need it on my computer right now.
Yeah.
There was a few things like that. There were definitely a few quotes that you're like, oh, we need this out in front of us. So thoughtful teachers keep a record of students' intended meaning without disturbing the student's product or feeling of ownership. And that kind of goes back to what I was talking about, which happens often to all of us, but I've seen sometimes folks get caught up in what the child produces, especially if they're maybe their assistant. What their produces shows how much they're teaching the student, and so that tendency to correct what they have typed or correct what they have written. But we need to keep the student's meaning, taking data, keeping record, but then keeping that feeling of ownership that the student has over it. And I love this poster. This is another one that needs to be up everywhere. So talked about displaying student writing and having this poster that says we are learning to write. You may see a lot of what you think are errors and want to help us fix them. Don't. These mistakes help our teachers learn what to teach us next. And there was a bit more to that poster, but anyone want to share anything out here?
I like this poster even just for, like, there have been times that I come into a classroom as an SLP and I know sometimes I'll be thinking about their communication goal and I know a bit about what their writing goals are, but I don't know, I don't think about this. Like, that's good. Or to think, okay, this is how I can support the kids for writing. And it just helps even people who are in the classroom all the time as a reminder, I think.
It comes to mind for me is I'm thinking about when I'm doing interviews and for AAC, and I'll ask about literacy skills for parents, and they'll say, oh, they don't have any. And I'll say, okay, well, do they recognize their own name in print? Oh, yeah. and when you have words up, could they choose a word, could they choose a word based on like what it starts with? Would they find mom from M and D from dad? Oh yeah. They know what letters words start with. And my response is, well, then they do have literacy skills, right? And so I think that a lot of times if you're not in this field, accurate writing means you have literacy skills, and anything less than that is kind of a no. And so I think it's really important that we that I don't think it's innate that parents know what all the stages of writing and reading are. And if they had typical kids that have breezed through that they were reading before kindergarten. I mean, some of these kids have typical siblings that nothing had to be broken down, so they don't really realize that there's a lot of steps involved here. So I like this, and I like the idea about thinking about other ways to let parents know what their kids can do, and that is literacy, or that's emergent literacy.
Yeah, and celebrating all those stages to help them recognize that it's moving towards literacy.
I really like,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry, something in the chat that says, she is saying this could be a great quote to put up without the word right. So you could generalize it to so many things for learning.
Yes.
I'd love to share for just a quick minute on this quote too. This is Rose, assistive tech specialist and OT of many years. So I did a research study for my post-professional master's. It's already been like 11 years on Clicker 5. And I worked with a bunch of emerging writers that were ages kindergarten through second grade, who basically, many of them could just scribble. Other ones could do, they were all in that emerging stage. And many people assumed that they weren't going to learn. And when I trained them how to use a tool where they could choose whole words and pictures and, learn how to, we would print exactly, it's kind of like there was an example of here of the kid beating on the keyboard where it was all this repeat of letters. But in the end, he could see, wow, I produced something. Like there's a product, and they can see how they put together pictures and words to make writing. And we honored each attempt like that. In fact, we use that as part of our data, and it was really fun to see the growth and just acknowledge that they were writing before they hadn't really been acknowledged or had a tool to do it in that way. So anyway, I had a really positive response in 8 weeks to significant growth and what these students could demonstrate, because they didn't have a way to do that before 10 years ago already. So anyway.
I didn't mean to bump forward as if we're moving on and people can't speak up about this or anything about the chapter. Okay. So it talked about emergent writing. By definition, it lacks convention. And I loved how they talked about writing being fluid at this stage of emergent writing. And so each time they read back to you what their writing was, it may be a little different. And it's fluid until their writing has enough structure and is working towards conventional writing. And so it gave some strategies of pairing with a picture and pairing with student read aloud of the text. And that is helping them define their writing. But that we need to expect variability in student readings over time. And we're not saying, oh no, but you said it was about this. No, we're just letting that be fluid. Just pausing if anybody wants to share anything about that piece. Okay. So we're getting towards the last section that is supporting students towards working towards conventional writing. And so there was the recommendation of day-by-day practice, and then also, or day-by-day demonstrating, and then predictable writing charts. And so we were in a moment going to jump into the breakout room, but I wondered if anyone would like to share about predictable writing charts. Have you used them? Just what's your experience or what struck you in this section?
This is Heidi. I love to use them with like my AAC users, and I'm going to start trying to do it remotely next week. We'll see how that piece goes. But what we'll do is we'll come up with a topic, like next week, the news to you topic that our teacher's doing is zoos. And so I'm going to create a structured writing, and usually under, you know, it might be zoos are, or what maybe I think they each get an animal. So, you know, my animal has, and then under each blank line, we're going to, I usually put like a place that they need to go in their AAC device, like a descriptive word or a color word or a feeling word. And then I kind of leave the last one for spell your own word. And so, you know, they're being able to use their AAC to help with writing, but then they're also getting the opportunity to work on their own spelling, and they get a kick out of them. It's so much fun. And then we're going to publish them in like a, you know, a book creator book.
And yeah, I like that. I haven't heard of leaving the last one for spell your own word, but I love how that leads into another skill. That's nice.
So
There's a comment.
on that note, I'm doing Grumpy Monkey this week because we decided to talk about the moods in the home, and it's a good book, by the way. He is denying that he's grumpy through the whole book. So my core word setup is that we're going to do I'm not. And then it's for some of my kids that's going to go straight to feelings and they can pick what they're not. But for other kids, I'm not tired, and there's a T, and I'm not grumpy, there's a G, right? So it's like, I'm just letting them know that these first letters will, you know, let me know what, so you're going to tell me what you're not. But you're going to give me the letter, and the letter has just as much meaning, right? And so you start to bring that meaning to those letters, and that when I give you a letter, that helps you get to my word too, right? It's a communication strategy for breaking down barriers. When there's a communication barrier or breakdown, you could also give me a letter, and that would help me, right? That's a speechy thing, but you're working towards that literacy thing. So I'm letting them know. I mean, on Zoom, I have a background like Kristen has right now, and I have letters behind me, and I can see that they're looking, or I'm pointing them out. Anyways, but I'm doing the core word thing. I'm not, or in this case, I like, right, or I want. But and then either I'm leading into a language activity regarding feelings, or as soon as possible, I'm letting them make those connections between those first sounds, and that you can give me a letter, and G means grumpy, and H means happy, and T means tired, and I forget what the other one was. So that was just an example.
There's a comment in the chat that someone's saying what they like about the predictable writing charts is that they make kids feel successful.
Anyone else using predictable writing charts or have any thoughts about this section?
There's also a comment about that it's reminding this person of GLAD strategies, which I think is guided language acquisition design. I can't remember, but strategies that are good for students that are English learners. And a lot of these are similar, like the sentence patterning chart. So just kind of excited about the connection with that. Someone else says they've done it, but it's still not quite routine yet.
Okay.
And we also have a parent saying that her daughter did it, and it was successful to get her thoughts out.
I love the make and publish a book, that celebration of that writing. Yeah.
Well, they are so excited when they see their page. Oh my word.
Yeah.
Right, which leads into the breakout.
Leads into the breakout. So we were going to brainstorm day-by-day writing demonstration, and then also celebrating student writing. So I wonder, Sarah, can you put the Google Doc link in the chat as
Sure.
to get to that? And then I am going to make my first attempt at putting everybody in breakout rooms. So I'm glad we have a little extra time to make sure this works out for me. So let's see. So the document, hold on one sec. You guys can go to this document and be taking notes as well. Oh gosh, I get things in the way. So if you follow the link, you'll get to here. We did the brainstorm in the chat. And so in the breakout rooms, we're talking about listing some ways to celebrate student writing, and then helping kids progress towards conventional writing by day demonstrations. So brainstorming ideas for day-by-day writing demonstration for home and school. And so Sari, we'll have Sari taking some notes in one, but anybody can log in and take notes under these sections. And Brenda for 2, and Linda room 3, and Heidi room 4. To remind myself what I'm doing here. Okay, so you'll see that you're going to be able to join a breakout room shortly.
While you're doing that, Kristen, really quickly, I just want to note that there was someone that's saying that I find that teens are more eager to work on concrete literacy skills, teaching and quizzing sight words. The emergent writing stuff is a huge cognitive shift for some of these teams, and it takes time for some of them to see value in facilitating the writing experience. I just love that, because I think I think we're often just testing sight words and calling it literacy, and we're not actually teaching reading and writing. And so I think just recognizing that most teams are comfortable with doing the sight word and some more testing because it meets IEP goals, and they don't know how to write goals and how to measure this emergency and emergent levels, and how are we showing progress. And those are valid questions, and frankly, in my opinion, part of the problem of the IEP process is that it's as if it's not measurable 8 out of 10 times, that it's not worth working on. And that's not true. And how we address that is something that we as maybe early adopters of this idea need to consider. And how do we support people to write goals or not be so tied that the only thing we can do is the IEP goals? And I know that that's a real big shift. So we just wanted to acknowledge that as you're breaking us into rooms.
I'm really glad you're taking the time to do that, because Brenda, your name is not showing up on my list, which I don't know how. So people in breakout room 2, you may be brainstorming in there, or get somebody on the page, because there's
Is she's not a co-host? Is that why? I think she needs to be.
No, but it's not in there.
All participants should be in your list.
And it's alphabetized, so it's not like it's okay. So we've got people assigned to 1 and 2, except Brenda. I'll circle back around and try to get you in there then.
No worries. I'm sure my room will be just fine.
And maybe we have the experienced people to next go around. Okay, Linda, your groups should be in there.
But I'm not in there. It didn't
I clicked on you.
It didn't send me an invitation to go.
I don't think, me neither.
Oh, open all rooms. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So Kristen, I've been invited to breakout room 1. Is that where you want me?
No, that's why you didn't show up. So can you jump over to 2?
I don't know.
It's not.
It does not give me that option, so you'll have to reassign me.
Oh my goodness, Brenda, I might make you host.
Okay.
Because I'm having trouble with it. And then you can put me in too.
At the moment, my only option is to join join a room. I can't assign, so I might need to be.
I've clicked on make host.
Okay, now I can. So are most people, so I have 23 people unassigned. Should I go ahead and just,
4.
huh?
Yeah, put them in 4 with
Put
height.
them in 4.
Do I get something that sends me to 4?
The Rose is going to 4 as well, though, and Heidi, and they're in the same room.
That's fine, yeah. Because we didn't got Rose.
Okay.
All right, I got an invite. See ya.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Once I started the rooms, I couldn't figure out how to start assigning 4. Like once you say open rooms, I need a tutorial.
I did assign 2 before I did any open last time.
Okay, should I go to 2 instead of 4? There was nobody to,
Sure.
okay.
Okay. So where do you want me?
So you go to, well, you don't go anywhere because unless you just put.
You're
me
right.
host,
Oh,
then-
well, do you want to, now that I've done that, do you want to be back host?
Oh,
You know
sure.
what? Let's pause the recording.
Paused.
Student work, and that it can be as simple as just printing something that they've done and putting it up. We talked about putting things up in the hallway so kids can see it, or presenting to their classmates, whether they're reading about it or they're just showing it, holding it up. Making a poster, and then kids can contribute to that poster however they can, whether it's putting on a color that talks about it, tape on a picture or something like that. We had a conversation about first author writing curriculum, because that's used in a classroom, and just noting that that was great for kids when they had a little bit more communication. Well, it was harder for kids that had more physical challenges, I think is what we were talking about, and more emergent communicators. Using Tar Heel Reader to publish books that you can either make public or publish or keep just for your class. And Pictello. And we were talking a little bit about how sometimes the tech can get in the way in a classroom, in that people feel a little bit like, I don't know how to use this, and we don't want to, it can become a barrier sometimes. So we talked about maybe doing like little trainings just to get people's hands on, because it can be such a good tool. The technology can be such a good tool. I hope I covered that. We also had a conversation in the very beginning about writing goals to reflect emergent writing, and that became a whole thing, and I figured that's probably something that the whole group might want to talk about at some point. But some really nice ideas, and that the main idea was that, well, not the main idea, but one of the ideas was work with your teacher to align your goals, and there's usually better crossover for what your goals are, whether it's a speech and language goal in the classroom or vice versa. Everybody can work on it. Someone said the developmental writing scale, you can see the notes here. That might be an ongoing thing, the writing goals.
And someone in the chat is mentioning that Bridge Assessment has some emergent literacy goals and how to look at progress. So there is a link there on
Great.
Thinking about that.
Okay, I'll put that in our notes. That's great.
And I think through the University of North Carolina, Gretchen Hanser has some alternative pencil goals, which talk about like the developmental stages that students, children go through for writing, and some goals for that. I know I've put together some IEP goals for that.
That would be great to get in our notes document. I'm going to make a note. Okay, so group 2.
All right, that was me, and we had some of the same ideas, so I'm not going to repeat too much. Let's see, maybe I need to be in here. I don't know. Somebody had an idea to make a copy for home and for school, because once it goes home, it's hard to display in the classroom. And later, someone was saying, I keep the work all week, and we celebrate it all week, and then after a week, it's gone because we're making new stuff. But in that week, there was talk about sharing with their contained classroom, with their typical peers, with buddies, and having one-on-one time with the teacher for further explanation and that kind of thing. Can you scroll down? I don't have control for some reason. And then co-writer, story creator, explain everything. There were several different apps on there, Google Docs. And then, there was just a comment about, when we write what kids say and we don't alter much, we presume the competency, and then when typical kids are seeing the ideas that are coming from especially some of our nonverbal kids, they are then presuming higher competency of cognition and understanding of what's happening. So there was just a neat thing there. I don't want to just completely plug here, but I am doing a webinar on Go Talk on Tuesday, for specifically not for AAC, but for literacy strategies. And it's a make and take. So it's like, if you want to come and learn how you might do some things in Go Talk, both for, that could be printable in display, but also are just an alternative pencil kind of ideas that will cover the first 4 chapters of this. So it'll be alphabetic principle, reading, and writing. So that's Tuesday from 12 to 1:30. If you bring, and you're like expected to have the Go Talk in front of you, at least the free version, so you can run through a few ways to make Switch accessible literacy activities. Sorry to plug. All right, anything else?
We'll get the link in the notes and in the follow-up email, and same with Heidi Brislin's alternative pencil webinar that we have on the YouTube channel.
I think there's some goal samples in that as well.
Pardon?
And Brenda, you're talking about the Go Talk Now app, right? Not the Go Talk device.
Yeah, the app. Because if you get Go Talk Now Lite, you get 5 free pages, and we won't get to more than 5 pages. So we're just gonna let you guys follow along. And actually, last time I did one, there's some people who were like, yay, and other people were like, hold on, slow down, show me step by step. So that's what this next one is.
And remember that in the fall, as we do the same book study, that we have some webinars interspersed throughout that series that address some of the tools as well.
So in the fall, it's way slower. It's like 1 chapter a month, and then the webinars throughout the month are on alphabetic principle, or they'll be on reading, or the webinars around this chapter in December will be on these different writing apps and things we're talking about now.
Okay, Linda, room 3.
So we had a lot of the same ones, so I'll just kind of highlight the ones that are different. One of them was somebody who worked with older students, and so they actually would work on projects for a little while and then publish, and they would do things like a pizza party on publishing day, because who doesn't love food? So that's a great way to celebrate. And then as far as the day by day, just how important choices were, we talked about, and then that you don't have to have a lot of technology. You can do on the fly choices, like one hand is one letter or one topic and the other hand is the other, and just let them choose between, your hands. And then just how important it is to find topics that they're interested in, maybe let them choose their prompts. So, and then the rest were kind of similar to what other people had shared about publishing and things. Oh, and don't forget you can hang it on the refrigerator too, the good old refrigerator. So.
All right, Heidi.
Okay, ours was a lot of the same as well. Email at home. We have one teacher that she texts like everything home, so if they come in and they have a, they've done like a great writing thing in class, she takes a picture of it immediately and like texts it right home to the parents with the kid right there. We're going to send a message to your mom. I'll let you know what she says back. So that's pretty exciting. Letting them pick a sticker or a star. Again, talking a little about sharing with the group and then working together as buddies, either with two peers working together to create something, whether it's in the special ed classroom or having a gen ed peer and they work on creating something together. Again, recording things on an iPad and then creating books that you publish with either Google Slides or PowerPoint or Book Creator. And then some of the ways to day by day demonstrate things is narrating while you're writing. So like as you're spelling the word, talk about the letters and the sound, and then what do you think I should write next, and kind of asking them for input and putting it in there. What people really loved, the signing their names in context that makes sense instead of just having to write their name to practice writing their name, and doing the same kind of thing with the season or the day. And then choosing and like have one of your classroom areas or centers, have there be a sign in for that. And then there's multiple opportunities to sign in every day. And then there was some talk about one of the, Lisa had some great ideas that she'll do, pretend to take orders. And so she'll either have them take orders, or she'll be the order taker. Like we're at McDonald's, let's write down your order. And how do you spell hamburger? What do you think hamburger starts with? And kind of letting them start to kind of do that. And just some fun creative ways for, writing on tables and different things. And we did some talk about signing their name and saying, wow, what a great job you did signing your name. I love how you did the, when I write your name, it looks like this, and writing it, somewhere else. And so then they have that model of kind of what they're eventually moving to, and you can talk about the letters and the sounds in their model as well. I think that's it. Anybody else have anything from the group?
Okay, so we're nearing the end of our time. I was remembering how when I was at a middle school with about 4 middle school boys who had been doing handwriting sheets for eternity and still struggling with the handwriting piece, and I asked if I could start a writing group. And we did author's chair every week. And so we had decorated this chair to be the author's chair with things that they were interested in, and they loved it. But they all wrote in different means. So they all had different ways they needed to write because of their abilities. But by the end, they had something published in their hands or on their device that they were sharing each week. And just celebrating that time with an author's chair was amazing. So we are at the end of our time. Next week, we're on chapter 6. Sari and Brenda, you have any other announcements?
No, just that we'll have the link to the notes after this and the recording available.
Yes, we got to do a little edit with my breakout room fiasco. But other than that, we will be